I've got a 5-hour layover in San Diego. Let's talk Niners from Terminal 1. What's up? Welcome to the show. I'm Grant Cohn. That's my good friend Tony Farmer, writes for On SI. I was planning to be flying to Indianapolis, and I will eventually, but I'm stuck in San Diego for now. It's a hell of a town. I don't really actually get to go into it. I'm in Terminal 1. I had a breakfast burrito, and it was delicious, Tony. I'm not a California burrito guy, but a breakfast burrito is a whole different thing. It had some chorizo. It had no potatoes at all. I thought it was just a delicious burrito. So I'm feeling great. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. And I like your food reviews, by the way. I know you don't do too many of them, but when I see on my Twitter feed a Grant Cohn pizza review or something like that, you're in a different city trying something new, it gets my attention. And I like hearing your thoughts, man.
Well, thank you very much. I had an idea yesterday. I had an incredible brisket sandwich yesterday, and I was thinking maybe it might be worthwhile to show like what the Bay Area has to offer when it comes to Texas style barbecue, because we're not exactly
Yeah.
known for it, but there's some hidden gems.
And I'm in Austin, Texas right now. You know what I had for the very first time in my life a couple days ago? Smoked meatballs from a barbecue
What are those?
place. It was just a meatball that's been cooked through the smoking process. You like how they smoke meats? So it was
Hmm.
a smoked meatball sandwich, and it was delicious. First time in my life.
Sounds delicious. All right,
Yeah,
so here's
let's.
the topic for today: the vision for 2026. We should actually get some insight into that on Tuesday when John Lynch talks to the media. That's provisional, preliminary. It's not official yet, but he's supposed to talk on Tuesday. He'll explain why they hired Raheem Morris, if he's going to run the wide nine, what the top needs are, what they're going to do about the substation. All those things I would imagine he's going to address at some point in the next 2 days. So let's preview it. Let's try to anticipate what the Niners are planning this offseason, because last offseason was underwhelming. I mean, what they wanted to do was slash prices, get rid of veterans, add a bunch of young guys, lower expectations, and then they exceeded their own low expectations and gave themselves uh, an ice cream party. What are they? Are they actually going to spend cap space this offseason? I think they have to after winning 12 games with that pared down budget. So let's talk about what they actually need to accomplish. I think job one starts with the offensive line. I mean, I don't know if they have to do it first, but the idea of going into last year with Ben Barch at left guard is kind of hilarious in hindsight, in a
Yeah.
sad way. And I really think they got to make sure they have a good player at left guard, not some cheapo starter. How confident are you that the Niners are going to add a good starter to this line?
I want it to happen. I'm not super confident though, Grant. I think Kyle has a way of sort of under prioritizing, especially the interior linemen. We saw two Super Bowls where Chris Jones took over that game. The second Super Bowl in Vegas, which I was at, you had a missed blocking assignment by a backup right guard that basically you could argue cost them the game in overtime. People say, oh, the Chiefs will get the ball back, etc. But bottom line is they've been bitten several times by not fortifying the interior of the offensive line. And I just feel like if I had to bet, that pattern's probably going to continue. Kyle's going to be stubborn and think that he can out scheme offensive line issues. But we're talking about the offensive line. We didn't even mention Trent Williams yet. I mean, how many years does he have left? I put out a quick little question on my Twitter at Tony's Market Tips. I'm like, hey, how many years do you think Trent Williams has left? Some people are saying 2 years, 3 years. You got to start planning at some point. You don't want to be forced to draft a left tackle in the first round because your guy is retiring. You want to be able to maybe have him play a right tackle, for instance, and slide into that left tackle position. You don't want to be desperate needing a left tackle. So plan ahead.
Well, I'm looking at Trent Williams' contract, and it seems to me, according to overthecap.com, that this is his last year under contract. He's 38 years old. 2027, his contract void, so he'll still be on the Niners salary cap. But he won't be on the team unless they extend him. And frankly, I don't think they should extend him. Not that he's not good anymore, but he's 38 years old and he's really, really expensive. His cap number is almost 39 million this year. That's, I mean, not that many quarterbacks make that much money. And he misses a few games every year, and he's not a quarterback. He can't, I don't think he can be, I don't think he should be your best offensive lineman. If he's your best offensive lineman, you don't have a good offensive line. And I think the reason the Niners are so cheap at every other position is because they're paying him so much money. And I think they told themselves, all right, we can justify giving Trent Williams, Patrick Mahomes money, or Sam Darnold money, by if we have the cheapest center, the cheapest right tackle, the cheapest left guard. That's not good enough anymore. What did Kyle say? The reason they can't score against Seattle, well, we can't run the ball. Well, why can't you run the ball? You're not going to replace your running back. You freaking love Christian McCaffrey. Gotta left guard.
Yeah, I agree, man. I would love to see them do that. Does it happen in the draft? Does it happen in free agency? I haven't taken a good look at who the available free agents are, but it goes back to your question: are they going to spend? They were kind of cheapskates last offseason.
Yeah,
and it's funny, Grant, because like you alluded to, look at how far they got. They got that close to getting the number 1 seed. And I suppose you could make an argument. It feels like a little stretch, but you could make an argument that things might have gone differently if the 49ers got the number 1 seed. So what if they had spent last offseason, Grant? What if they weren't cheapskates last offseason and fortified their roster?
What if they had traded for Rashid Shaheed instead of the Seahawks trading for Rashid Shaheed?
Wow, I didn't even think about that. That's a
right, because he essentially beat
question.
the Niners with that opening kickoff return. I mean, he was a real difference maker for them this year.
Yeah, good point. Or anybody, or traded for anybody of significant value that could have, helped them down the stretch, like we've seen them do in prior years. But are the 49ers going to spend this season? It's going to be a fascinating question for sure. If they do, I want it to be done in the trenches on both sides of the ball, man. That's where they need the most help.
That's what the Bears did last year. I mean, Ben Johnson, he takes over, and the first thing he does is sign Drew Dahlman, Chris Dahlman's son, and Joe Thuney. I mean, bang, all of a sudden you go from a bad offensive line to a really good offensive line, and they draft weapons. And what's tough about that is it takes a real financial commitment, because bad starting offensive linemen generally get $15 million a year. Spencer Burford is going to get $15 million a year from someone, and he's not good enough. Mediocre, middling offense, I mean, like average ones, $20 million a year. To average to good. So you have to really want to invest in it. If the Niners say, well, we can't because we're paying so much to our 38-year-old left tackle, well, that's too bad. And his contract and Nick Bosa's contract this year are crippling. It's not really about Brock Purdy's contract yet. His contract is fine. It's those two guys. They have to play all the games and be Hall of Famers.
Yeah, I like you bringing up the Bears comparison. There was a third big offensive lineman they added to, and his name's escaping me right now. But I think one difference.
And let's not forget the Seahawks. They spent their first round pick on Gray Zabel, a left guard the Niners could have taken.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point.
Yep.
But I think a difference between the Bears last year and the Niners this year is the Bears on offense, besides their offensive line at the time before they decided to invest, didn't have many other holes. Like they had a Dunze, Moore at wide receiver. They felt good about their quarterback. They had the running backs. And it was like, this is the only thing we're missing is a good offensive line. So I think they felt confident putting a ton of resources into it. The Niners have questions at wide receiver now, especially if Juwan Jennings walks out that door. So it's like, where do you've only got so much money. You've only got so much cap space. You've only got so much energy that you can put into fixing this offense. Do you put half of that energy into the offensive line and half into the wide receiver core? Do you ignore the offensive line again and put it all into the receiver core? Man, I look back. I don't know if you saw this tweet or not, Grant, but I looked back at the wide receivers that Alex Smith had his first couple years with the 49ers. You have that debate. What's more important, having a young quarterback who's protected or giving them weapons? Man, when I saw the weapons that Alex Smith didn't have, it was mind-blowing. The best wide receiver that he had in his first 4 years was Brandon Lloyd, and he only had 9 years with him. You know who the next best wide receiver that Alex Smith had in his first 4 years in the league? Arnaz Battle.
I loved Arnaz Battle. Yeah, he was
good. The best wide receiver the 49ers had in his first 4 years in the league. And so I'm getting a little off topic here, but like, where do you want to invest, in the weapons or in the offensive line? Because the Niners are continually...
Kyle. Yeah, but we know Kyle. He's going to invest in the weapons. And to me, it's like, that's fine. But like, did we learn anything from the Seahawks? Their weapons, they had the best wide receiver. They had a very good running back and a solid tight end, a solid number 2 wide receiver. Cooper freaking Kupp, late career Cooper. I think what we learned about what made them special was trenches. What made the
Yeah.
Eagles special 2 years ago was the trenches. So, yeah, they obviously have to add a wide receiver. We're going to talk about that next. But improving the offensive line helps Christian McCaffrey and it helps Brock Purdy. Can you imagine how
Yeah.
much better Brock Purdy would be if the offensive line were legit top 10 in the league as opposed to arguably top 20?
Yeah, and Grant, I agree with everything you said there. I want to add another reason why I think they should prioritize the offensive line. I don't think they will. Have you noticed that at the trade deadline every year, there seems to be a wide receiver or two that's available? We got Emmanuel Sanders a
Yeah.
couple years ago for that first Super Bowl
Yeah.
run. You brought up Rashid Shaheed. There's
Yeah.
always seems to be a weapon available. When's the last time you saw a premier right tackle or left guard available at the trade deadline? It's much more
It doesn't
rare.
happen.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
so fortify what you can in free agency on the offensive line. And if you go into the season a little weak at the wide receiver position, maybe you get one before the trade deadline. I think that just makes more sense logically to me.
It seems to me too, like when you feel you have a great quarterback, it's more important to give him a line than weapons because you feel like, man, if we just keep him upright, give him time, keep him healthy, he can elevate other players. But if he's running around for his life, if he's on his back, there's nothing he can do.
Yeah.
I'm surprised the Niners haven't done that unless they don't think that Brock Purdy's worth the money they're giving him. I would just imagine that like his two issues when he's healthy and the team is healthy, he can look like an MVP candidate, but he misses too many games and he throws a lot of picks. You would figure like improving the offensive line and giving him more time and clear sight lines would address both of those issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do
And
it.
yeah. Yeah. And there's another elephant in the room we haven't talked about here, Grant. The 49ers are terrible at either developing young wide receivers or scouting the talent in the draft for young wide receivers. Because how many times have we gotten excited as 49er fans, myself, about them drafting a receiver, whether it's Jalen Hurd, Dante. They trade up for Dante Pettis, I do believe.
They traded up for
Dante
Dante.
Pettis, and the list goes on and on and on. Early round picks, late round picks. Two exceptions to that would be Ayuk and Debo Samuel, but I don't want to give them
Right.
too much credit for those because those were
Juwan.
earlier. Yeah, Juwan is a great.
Those are
pick.
the
Gotta give
three.
them all the
And I
credit
feel like
that.
for a minute,
Yeah.
the Niners had kind of like convinced themselves, like, hey, like say what you want about Kyle Shanahan as a personnel guy. He knows his wide receivers because he played the position. And
Not
forget
anymore.
Dante Pettis. But no, not I mean,
Yep.
Jacob Cowing, Jordan Watkins, Danny Gray. And I think the most troubling one would be Ricky Pearsall. Not because he isn't good, but because they took him in round one. And no other team would have taken Ricky Pearsall in round one. But Kyle said he reminds
Yep.
me of me. Literally said that. I mean, like he stuck his neck out there for him. And so far, he's looking like a guy who should have been taken around 2 or 3. So
Yeah.
maybe the Niners are like, we can't just let Kyle Shanahan pick whoever. Let's get to the job number 2. Let's stick with the offense. They clearly need to add speed and yak to the offense. It could be wide receiver, it could be tight end, it could be running back. This is an offense that at its peak 2 years ago was the premier yak offense in the league. Now it's among the worst. So this is something I would imagine Kyle Shanahan will address.
Yep.
How do you think he's going to address it? And please tell me it's not by bringing back Debo Samuel Sr.
There's a lot of people on Twitter that are excited about that potential move. I'm not one of them. You mentioned running backs real quick. This is more of a wide receiver question, but I do want to mention the backup running back position real quick. I would love to see Brian Robinson come back because I think he's got a lot left in the tank. I was very excited about that acquisition. You and I talked the day that the Niners acquired Brian Robinson, if you remember that. Why would he want to come back, though? Why would any running back that's a free agent in the NFL right now want to work behind Christian McCaffrey when you know at best, unless he gets hurt, you're going to get 80 carries a year, 90 carries a year? I would like to see at best. Yeah, I would love to see them get a quality thunder and lightning type approach, but I worry that person's just going to rot on the bench and isn't going to play. So I think they've done themselves a disservice by not playing guys like Brian Robinson a little bit more, if for no other reason to keep Christian McCaffrey fresh, not just for the playoffs, but for the future as well.
What about Garendo and Jordan James? Like they literally got 0 carries in the regular season. What was the point of drafting them? Why you could have spent those mid-round picks on offensive linemen or anything else to bring them in and then not even give them a look. I can't even tell you whether the Niners need a running back because Jordan James might be really good. I mean, he had a few carries in that playoff game. He looked like an NFL running back. And Garendo, isn't great, but he looks like a real weapon as a receiver out of the backfield. And if you
Mm,
give him 8 or 9 carries, one of those could go for 70 yards. I don't
yeah,
understand why you don't even how they were like we're on the
yeah.
team but weren't on the team. Like, what's the point? It's like you have a 51-man roster.
I agree with you completely. I know there's a lot of people on Twitter that want to see those guys get the ball more. Is this their mindset, though? And I don't agree with this, but I'm thinking this is their mindset. Hey, if we can only get 4 yards a carry with Christian McCaffrey, there's no way that these no-name guys coming in are going to be able to make our offense better. Is
Maybe.
that
But
the
what I would
thought
say is like
process?
you don't really know it's going to happen until you give a guy a shot, until you see it in real time. And like, I don't see how you can actually evaluate a running back in practice. It's
Mm,
practice. His job is to break tackles and get yards after contact. He could get 1 yard after contact. He could get 5. You have no idea what he's going to play like when the adrenaline's going. And
yeah,
I don't know. Again, when we saw Jordan James, I was like, kind of looks like he did in college. Kind of intrigued. Could be.
yeah.
Brian Robinson was fine, but he wasn't like super dynamic. And the Niners need some youth. And I don't understand how they went out of their way to give Upton Stout and Marquise Siegel and Alfred Collins so many reps to like go through the growing pains, but no one on offense got that. Why?
Yeah,
How are you
yeah.
rebuilding one side of your team but not the other? That doesn't
Mm.
make any sense. I just don't understand. Kyle's too smart for me, man.
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of that, man. I want to ask you about Guerrero because
Sure.
Excuse me. You've seen him in practice. You
Yep.
also saw a guy who he reminds me of a little bit, Raheem Mostert. Remember, Mostert was originally a special teams guy, and he got a
Yep.
shot. He got the shots that
Yep.
Guerrero is not getting to take
Yep.
over this offense. Do you see similarity? Is this a lazy take? Am I just saying all these guys
They
are
gave
fast, so
they
they're
gave
similar?
Garendo Mostert's number, dude. Kyle
Mm,
Shanahan was like, I want the next Raheem Mostert. And they're like, all right, well, this guy runs a 4.3. Kyle's like, cool, we'll give him 31. He has the same upright running style. Mostert didn't really become a good running back until he was damn near 30 years old. So I wouldn't write off Isaac Garendo at all. It seemed like they liked him more than Jordan James in 2020, Jordan Mason in 2024.
ah,
They couldn't keep Garendo off the field. And then, I mean, he averaged 5 yards a carry as a rookie. Then he comes back this year and gets 0 carries. It almost feels like something happened behind closed doors. I know he was getting a lot of run in training camp, and then he injured his shoulder in a special teams drill, and it was like that was the end of him. I don't know how he fell out of favor with that. Maybe they felt that he was soft or something. I don't know. And then he
yeah.
fumbled on a kick return. He was a kick returner early in the season. He fumbled on a kick return against the
Mm.
Rams, and I don't think he ever played again. And maybe he had like kick coverage with kick
We
coverage. Oh, he
we
never
might have
touched the
just
ball again.
answered our own question there because Kyle does have a tendency to kind of put people in the doghouse. We're speculating. We'll throw that out there. We don't know. We're
Yeah,
speculating, but
if they think
there
he's
might
if
be
they think
something
he's
to that.
a fumbling risk, then I guess that would be it. But still, man, like you spent a 4th round pick on a guy, you traded up for Isaac Garendo, and you just throw him away real
Yeah,
fast. Like I don't
yeah.
think you can do that. You're not
Did
good
did
enough at
Matt Breida
drafting to
have a
do that.
fumbling issue too toward the end,
He
and
did.
kind of
He
he
did.
got sort of phased
Yep,
out, and
same
then
thing.
see you later.
True.
So
That's true.
there might be
That is
something
true.
to that theory. Maybe they're just like, hey, dude.
Elijah Mitchell never fumbled in his career, and Kyle kept giving him the ball even when he was averaging 1.5 yards per carry. So, okay.
Oh man, you bring up Mason though. I would have liked to see the 49ers kept him. That was a tough one. I feel like somebody like that as a backup to CMC that can take some of those tough yards, some of those goal line carries. That's kind of a bruiser, that can run inside. Would be nice. I'd love like a bit of a. I'd say a thunder and lightning. I don't know if you want to call Christian McCaffrey lightning if he's got the speed for that, but I would like to see that type of approach where McCaffrey isn't getting overworked, man.
I'm so down on Christian McCaffrey. I'm sorry. I feel like he's still a premier receiver out of the backfield, and that's a great weapon to have. But as a running back, I don't know what he does well anymore. I don't think he has that burst to the edge. I don't think he's super powerful between the tackles. I don't think he makes a lot of guys miss, and I don't think gets a lot of yards after contact. But he is a great receiver out of the backfield, and defenses respect him. So
Yeah,
he's an interesting part. I feel like there's a way to use him at
yeah,
30 that makes your offense better. I don't think what they did in 2025 to like make him the offensive player of the year maybe was in the best interest of him or their offense. There's got to be another way.
Well, and theoretically, if there's a way to use him a creative way, I mean, maybe you line him up at fullback and he's not necessarily blocking, but you got him and a premier running back in the backfield. Shouldn't Kyle Shanahan be the guy that can solve this problem of how best to use Christian McCaffrey?
To me, what at 30 years old, I don't like the idea of lining him up in the I formation in a static alignment and with 11 eyes on him and handing him the ball. Like, I want him in motion.
Yeah,
I'd rather have someone else play running back and have him. I don't know. I don't care what the position is. You could call it what you can make up a name for it. He's not really a receiver. He's not really a running back. He's some flex position and he's in motion and he's making the other team, shit their pants. Like, oh my God, where is Christian going? When really he's a glorified decoy a lot of the time. I think that would be really smart. It would extend his career. And I just think he'd be more dangerous in motion than static. That's how they got Debo the ball so much.
I was just going to bring up Debo, man. Like, it's a good comparison of hey, how do we use this weapon? And Kyle did it in a very creative, innovative way with great success. Now, I don't see, it's a different type of creative role for CMC, but I'd like to see some sort of innovation this offseason from Kyle. And like you're saying,
running the offense through CMC, your offense is going to be not explosive. He's just too old. He's not 27 anymore. You can't run your offense through Kittle anymore. God knows when he's coming back, and he's getting older, and he's coming off an Achilles. You can't run your offense through Ricky Pearsall. They tried. He gets hurt too much. He's a complimentary. So who are you going to run it through?
Yeah.
They got to add someone. If he adds speed and yak, that's great, but you kind of need like a go-to guy in your offense. It's not going to be Juwan.
And this goes back to my offensive line conversation of I want him to address the offensive line, but I don't think they can do both and address the weapons and the offensive line at the same time. They're going to have to kind of choose, I think.
Yeah, and wide receivers are so expensive. Do they really want to go back into that market? You got burned with Debo. You got double burned with Brandon Ayuk. Are you going to go trade for AJ Brown? I mean, he's a diva. Are you going to give him the targets? He needs about 160 targets or he's pissed. Are you prepared for that?
Yeah. Well, maybe they should have paid Juwan Jennings prior to paying Brandon Ayuk or instead of paying Brandon Ayuk. And I know that sounds easy to say now in hindsight, but there were people saying that in originally. I mean, I had concerns with Ayuk, man. I really did. I'm not going to say I predicted this whole thing and I knew that he was going to fly off the handle and hold out and all this stuff. But there were red flags. He was whining after the Super Bowl, all that Instagram stuff before the contract. In hindsight, you lock Juwan Jennings up for a cheaper price last year than it would be now.
That's true. And I would say with the Niners and Ayuk, their official story is like, look, we loved him. We gave him a contract. He changed. It's like, did you love him? You tried to trade him. You didn't really want to give him the contract. He was in the dog. It seems like you knew exactly who he was, and you gave him the contract anyway, and you got upset when he continued to act erratically. I mean, I think that's kind of on you. You hoped that giving him all this money would change him when it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and he was in your building for 4 years before you before you decided to pay him. You drafted him. You did all the homework on him. How did you not see this? He
wasn't
coming?
A captain. You knew something was there, man. There was a reason, despite him being so good. So my question is, do you think they go wide receiver in round one again? They just did it 2 years ago with Ricky Pearsall.
You know, I will say this. They have a tendency to do the opposite of what at least I think. Every time I'm like, oh, I think I know what the 49ers are going to do in the first round, they do the opposite. Like, I didn't expect them to draft Mike McGlinchey the year that he was drafted. The Niners always seem to go off script and almost like Kyle coaches. He's trying to outsmart people and, I think they should. I would like to see a wide receiver drafted in the first round. But again, I don't have confidence in their ability to select one or to develop that talent. So that leaves me you know what? It's a little easier to develop an offensive lineman or to not strike out or whiff on a big offensive lineman. So that leaves me saying if other people were in charge, I'd want them to draft a wide receiver. Because it's Kyle and John, I want them to take a big, reliable offensive lineman that's got a lot of starting experience in college.
People don't talk about this, but when the Niners were developing Debo, Ayuk, and Jennings when they were really young, who was their wide receiver coach?
Oh gosh, bring me back. Was it
Wes?
the dude from the Patriots? Wes Welker, yes.
Welker. Wes
Did they
Welker is a
fire
really
him?
good
Did
wide
he get
receiver.
fired or just not renew
No,
his
they did
contract
not
or
fire
what?
him. They didn't renew his contract. He went with Mike McDaniel to the
Okay.
Dolphins, and I'm not sure where he is now, but that guy was good. And I remember the word around the organization was that he was so upset with Debo for coming back to the team overweight. They listed him at 215.
Mm,
He came back at like 230 his second year. And
yeah.
Welker was so upset. He was like, look, man, I'll run with you. We'll run together. That's the kind of coach Wes Welker was. He
Wow.
really held him accountable. I don't get the feeling that Leonard Hankerson is a particularly good wide receiver coach. Maybe
Mm.
I'm wrong, but it seems like he's friends with the players, but I don't know that he necessarily has developed any of them. And
Yeah.
maybe to your point, like they could take a wide receiver in round one, but they don't have Wes Welker to get the best out of him anymore. Have they
Yeah.
gotten the best out of Ricky Pearsall? I don't know about it. You've seen
Yeah.
flashes from Ricky, but they can't get the consistency out of him. All right.
Yeah.
Number 3, they definitely have to add a pass rusher. They added a bunch of defensive linemen last year, but
Yep.
I don't think any of them are pass rushers. Not Michael, not Alfred Collins, not CJ West. Bryce Huff was so overhyped. Maybe he'll be better with Bosa back, but he was the exact same player he was for the Eagles last year. And then Bosa, we have no idea what he's going to be when he comes back. If he comes, he'll come back eventually, but third ACL, what's he going to be? And he's overpaid. So what do you
Yeah.
think they do? Do you think they go trade for Max Crosby? Max Crosby, who just became part owner of Leeds United? Well, that was so interesting. What do you make of that? It seems like a really easy way to pay someone under the table if you have to,
That was
like a
weird. I don't
Kawhi
want to
Leonard situation.
speculate. That was weird.
Yeah,
I think every 49er fan would love to see Max Crosby in red and gold. No doubt about it. But we're
I
talking
think
about a
Max Crosby
team.
would love to see Max Crosby in red and gold.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. A little.
I don't think Clint Kubiak's going to let him go. I get the feeling that Tom Brady had the juice, and now
Yeah.
Clint Kubiak has the juice in that organization. God knows the things the Raiders had to promise him just to get him to sign on the dotted line.
Yeah, absolutely. But from a nostalgia perspective, Grant, I'm 41, so I missed some of the Niners' glory years in the 80s. But I know that Ronnie Lott ended up in a Raiders uniform. I remember Jerry Rice ending up in a Raiders uniform. Wouldn't there be some karma in this if the 49ers can do it the other way and end up getting Max Crosby over at the Bay? What a great pickup he would be, because one, the fear for quarterbacks knowing that you've got Nick Bosa on one side, assuming he's at his elite level, which is a big assumption right now off that injury, and Max Crosby on the other side, throw Michael Williams in there. I think the 49ers are probably going to take a cheapskate approach and do like a Joey Bosa type move, which, by the way, I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah.
I don't want Joey Bosa to be the starting defensive end, but I like Joey Bosa as like a rotational guy. He's got experience. He's got playoff experience. I
Well,
wouldn't mind that, but he's not the answer.
let me tell you something. From what I understand, according to sources, the Niners made him an offer last year,
Mm,
and it was about 9 million, from
mm,
what I understand. And he signed with Buffalo for about 12. So they wanted him,
yep.
but not that much. And I
Mm,
wonder if they will want him a little bit more now. They were so cheap last year. I mean, 3 million. That's all it took. 3 million. I'm
yeah.
sure they spent lots of that. Uh, you know,
And,
way more than that on their Leeds United product.
yeah, and I'm assuming here, he'd like to play with his brother, so you would have think that his agent would go back to them and be like, "Hey guys, I just need 3 million more." You can assume that conversation took place, and the Niners said, "Nah, nah,
Right.
we're
And the
good,
Niners are like,
we're good."
absolutely not. Parag says he's worth this.
Yeah,
And
and
I
and
feel like
this
Joey
this
went to Buffalo and had a good year. A
solid.
lot better
This
than Bryce Huff.
Exactly. This goes back to my point at the beginning of what if the 49ers had spent a little more in free agency this season where they almost were the number 1 seed. Maybe, I'm not going to say like bringing in Joey Bosa would have made the difference and they would have won a Super Bowl, but a couple offseason moves like that could have moved the needle for them.
I so agree with you that the Niners pretty much punted on the season before it started and then gave themselves credit for making it as far as they did. But if they had just looked at 2025 differently and said, you know what? Okay, we have all this dead cap and that's not ideal. But what we do have is a really easy schedule. And we still have Christian in his prime and he's fresh coming off a year we didn't really play. And we still have George in his prime. And if we wait another year, God knows what we're going to have from all those key players. Like this is actually kind of, it's not the beginning of the future. It's the last dance for
Yeah.
the most of the best players on our team. And
Yeah.
if we have one or two really smart additions, who knows? Maybe we could, because last year ended up being the year of parity. I mean, the
Yeah,
Seahawks had a
yeah,
great defense.
exactly.
Their offense was nothing special. It really
Yeah.
feels like 2025 was a huge missed opportunity.
I agree. And if we're trying to diagnose why they took that approach, there's some financial reasons why that we can dig into. But do you think that they maybe, especially on the defensive side of the ball, had a little bit too much faith in that they were going to be able to develop some of this younger talent quicker? I'm thinking of those defensive linemen. They assume, I mean, we can't predict injuries here, but do they assume that those guys were going to be bringing a little bit more to the team and that they were going to be having a bigger impact and they could get away with not bringing in a guy like Bosa and cutting corners in that way?
It's a good question. I mean, Michael Williams was supposed to be a project as a pass rusher. Alfred Collins is supposed to be a project as a pass rusher. It kind of felt to me like Robert Saleh came here and they were like, look, man, do whatever you want with the defense. And he was thinking, how do I get out of here as fast as possible? How do I rebuild this defense as fast as possible so I can
Yeah.
become a head coach? Okay, I gotta at least stop the run. If I could stop the run and limit explosive plays, I can have a pretty good defense, and maybe Nick Bosa can provide the pass rush.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was good for like a quick fix, but they didn't add any like cornerstone franchise players. Not
Yeah.
Upton Stout, not Michael Williams, not Alfred Collins. That's kind of rough. You'd
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So now you need that now. And now you could argue like they should spend a first round pick on a defensive lineman again for the second year in a row, which is not what you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who of those defensive players? I've been wanting to ask you this for a while, Grant. Who of those defensive rookies do you think does have the brightest future, the highest ceiling? Is it Stout? Is it? I guess Michael Williams is the easy answer because he's your first round pick. But who are you most excited about developing?
I feel like the best player right now is Upton Stout, but he's a 5'8" nickelback who can't play any other positions besides nickelback.
Mm.
And I think the best thing he does is defend the run and tackle. So I wonder how much upside he really has. I think the guy with the most upside is Alfred Collins.
Mm.
Like he has the Chris Jones body type, and they think he has the Chris Jones foot quickness. Now, he doesn't have the Chris Jones skill and power and strength, but he is Trent Brown's little cousin, and Trent Brown was kind of a incredible athlete that no one really
Yeah.
saw coming. So Alfred Collins has a shot to be special. I'm not sure Michael does, dude. What is Michael? He's like a 270-pound D tackle. I don't think he's an edge rusher. I don't think he's an edge player at all. He can set the edge, but I don't like having edge players who give you nothing as a pass rusher. And then from
Yeah.
an interior guy, is he a pass rusher? Can he really play defensive tackle full time at his weight, or does he need to add 20 pounds? Can he add 20 pounds? I don't even know what
Yeah.
he is.
Yeah. I like the flashes from Stout. I worry about regression. Let me ask you about a guy along these lines. What happened
I
to
worry
Jair
about
Brown?
longevity with Stout too, dude. He just throws. He plays like a linebacker. He's 5'8".
Mm,
You know, he's kind of like
mm.
Bob Sanders. It's like how long can you do that?
Injury risk. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's tough.
little guy. Yeah,
What happened to Jair Brown, Grant? Like his career started off strong. I believe he had an interception in the Super Bowl. I remember being
yeah.
very excited about him at one point. Were injuries there? Like he seemed to regress. First, do you agree with that he started hot and regressed? And if so,
Yeah, I would agree
do you have
with
an
that. I
explanation for
mean,
that?
I don't want to make excuses for him, but it seems like he was brought in specifically by Steve Wilkes, who had a vision for him,
Ah,
and he played well. I mean,
scheme
now he's
shift.
on his fourth defensive coordinator in 4
Mm,
years. That's not easy.
good
And I
call.
don't know, like, if he's being asked to do the same things or if the new defensive coordinators even like him. And he's not fast. And to me, it seems like in today's NFL, you want really fast safeties and bigger safeties like him are kind of getting moved to linebacker and nickelback. And the Niners tried that a little bit this year. Then they moved him back to safety. I kind of liked him better. I think they should move him to linebacker.
Mm,
I think that would be kind of interesting. But yeah, I think that the days of the 4-6 safety who, I don't know, Hafunga makes it work. Hafunga seems to play faster than his time, and he's a legit playmaker. But
yeah.
I don't think Jair. He's just not. He was in the right place in the right time on a couple picks and on his rookie year, but he just seems a step slow. And he doesn't seem to be super instinctual. I don't
Yeah.
think he's that good at anything, really.
Mm. If your
unfortunately.
theory is right that the scheme change had something to do with it, I'm like, trade him. Trade him
Trading
while
up
his stock is
youngsters.
high. Trade him while his
Yeah,
stock is high. Don't just let him rot on your bench and like, oh man, like, yeah, yeah. I'm
but
not,
they do that all the time. All
yeah.
right, job 4 for the 49ers, and this is might be job 1, solve the injury issue. It's really not going to matter if they bring in a pass rusher cuz he'll get hurt. They could bring in a guard, he'll get hurt. Whatever happens, the Niners are adamant that they don't know why this is happening. They'll say it's
Mm.
not the substation, it's not this and that. But do you think they will actually do anything to address this offseason?
Here's my prediction. I think that they're going to spend less time near the substation, but they're not going to admit that it's
Mm,
because they're concerned about the substation. It may have been Tim Kawakami. Someone came out and was like, we're hearing from the 49ers that the size of their team is too large and therefore they might, go to another practice field. This was about a week and a half ago. I don't know if you saw that. So I'm like, oh,
sure,
that's convenient. You're going to get away
sure,
from the
sure.
problem, but you don't
Mhm.
want to admit that was the problem. So that's my prediction how they're going to handle
Right.
it. And it's going to be a win-win because they're going to be like, hey, fans are happy. The fans that are concerned about this are now happy. Some of the players that we know have expressed some moderate concerns about this, they're going to be happy, but they don't have to admit that they screwed up by building the field near the
And
substation
they
and
don't
not.
piss off one of their corporate sponsors in PG&E.
How about that? How about that? Like Grant, that has to play a role in this. Like it's not PG&E's substation, but PG&E also makes substations and all sorts of stuff that put out electromagnetic frequency. So I wonder if there's any
Can you imagine, like,
conversations.
if Prize Picks were making substations, I would just talk about how much I love substations, that there's nothing wrong with them. Thankfully, Prize Picks isn't
Exactly.
in the substation business, so I can tell like it is.
Exactly. But man,
Yeah,
the thing that sticks out for me with this substation issue is the lack of leadership from Jed
thank you.
York. Like
That's the main take.
imagine like all right, Grant, you used to work at a newspaper in a newsroom. I did as well. Okay, imagine you're back in this newsroom setting and you're at the water cooler, and everybody that you talk to, all your colleagues and some of the supervisors above you, are like, man, they're working us too hard. They're not paying us overtime. We're working so hard. I'm barely getting any sleep. And this is the talk of the office, right? You go into the
Mhm,
cafeteria, you go to the vending machine. Oh man, we're just working so hard. Jed York, your boss, the editor at
mhm.
this newspaper, calls a meeting. Everybody's in the room, and the first thing he says is, listen, guys, we're going to need to work harder. We're going to need
Yep,
more effort from you. And
yep,
that may be true. Maybe that is the answer here, but you're tone deaf. It's a lack of
mhm.
leadership and a lack of understanding of what your
Yeah.
people are talking about and what they're feeling. And by the way, if I'm a 49er player and I am concerned about the substation, does this sort of silence me a little bit? The leader of my organization is saying there's nothing to this and sort of poo-pooing it and kind of, making it seem like it's a joke and not a
Yeah,
big deal.
imagine
Maybe I
you're
don't feel
you're a
as
rookie.
comfortable.
Imagine you're a rookie on the team or a second-year player in the team. It's one thing for George Kittle to talk about it, but imagine you're 23 and you're trying to get playing time. You're Jordan Watkins, and you're concerned. Are you gonna say anything?
Good
Probably not.
call. Good call. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my
I mean, it's just
frustration.
funny how go real quick. It's just funny how
Yeah.
Jed's like his top players are like, look, they're not. It's not like they're saying this is the reason we're getting injured. They're like, hey, it's funny, it's weird, it's a little concerning. We would love the team to take it seriously and give us some more information and really reassure us that this is not a problem. And Jed's like, I'm not even going to do that. It's stupid.
And his reasoning of, oh, Jerry Rice practiced next to this substation and he did
Okay.
okay is so disingenuous because, the substation has
So are you
changed over the
calling
years.
George
We're in a
Kittle
different.
soft? You calling McCaffrey soft? Is that sort of what you're implying? I don't understand.
Your top paid players, it's like the way to handle this as a leader would be to have a meeting,
Yep.
pull the guys together and say, hey,
Oh
I
yeah.
want to hear what you have to say, even if I disagree with it, even if I think this
Yeah.
is BS tinfoil hat stuff. And that's the thing, Grant. Even if there's nothing to this substation, the fact that some of your players, past and present, think that there might be, it needs to become a priority. It needs to be
And the
investigated. It
fact
needs to be
is they
looked at.
can't rule it out. The fact is they can't rule it out.
Yeah.
Here are the
Yeah.
facts. They're the most injured team in the league every year. They can't rule out this substation as being a factor. So it seems like the burden's on them to start tinkering with variables. Don't tell us this isn't it. You don't know what it is. So start practicing somewhere else some of the time. And you probably should think about getting a new trainer too. I don't like calling for the firing of trainers because I'm really not qualified. I'm much more qualified to talk about coaches and stuff. But dude, it's been the same trainer since 2017. I mean, you can't keep everything the same and just cross your fingers and say we really hope we'll stay healthy this year. No, that's not good enough.
Yeah, they need to turn over every stone, and the substation one is a big stone. And what frustrates me, Grant, is on Twitter, there's so many people who are like closed-minded to this idea. They're just like, oh, this is a conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat stuff. There's nothing to this. And like, I'm not, I haven't looked at all the studies, okay? I'm not a science guy, but I understand history pretty well. And when I look back at history through the tobacco industry, for instance, and how they originally used doctors and advertisements to say that smoking products coat your throat. And I'm sure there were scientists speaking up, like the molecular biologist that you had on your show from Princeton, that were like, hey guys, I would like to show you some science over here. And they were probably poo-pooed and called conspiracy theorists. We used to spray DDT.
Do you understand how lucrative this industry is? Shut up. Shut up.
Exactly. I think there's interesting parallels between, some of these companies in the tobacco industry. We used to spray children's hair with DDT in school to kill lice. DDT, which we now know causes cancer. And I'm sure there were people speaking up. Rachel Carson wrote a whole book on it about DDT and saying, hey, and people laughed at her and said, oh, that's not what the science says. So I could give you example after example of this. History tells us we should take these things seriously. Now, that doesn't mean it is true just because there's examples of it throughout history, but it means we should question it. We should look at it and have an open mind and not be so dismissive.
Right. And when people say, like, I don't buy it, like, where's the science? What I think so interesting about it is like, well, the Niners have an opportunity to like sort of conduct one of the most important scientific experiments in this field ever. Like, you have a team full of NFL players who are spending a ton of time right next to the substation, like, and they happen to be injured every year.
Yeah.
Why don't you take them away from the substation and see what happens?
I like
what
that.
An incredible opportunity for science.
Yeah. I like that phrase, the canary in the coal mine. Like, what if the 49ers injury situation is the canary in the coal mine for our society as a whole? Because you and I are on devices right now that are, putting out EMFs, and we go on our cell phone, Bluetooth, all that sort of stuff. And so, and we have some health issues in this country, don't we? So,
you got wired headphones right now. I just noticed that. You're actually
that's intentional.
Yourself.
Yeah. That's intentional. I'm one of the weirdos, Grant. I turn my Wi-Fi off at night. And who was it? Was it Kittle or Fred Warner who came out and said that? And people were teasing him about that. Yeah, I'd say
McCaffrey.
Was it McCaffrey?
See, I'm a walking contradiction. I'm over here being like, the Niners have to check out the substation while I'm using Bluetooth AirPods. Being like,
I got the wire. I think the Wi-Fi off at night makes sense because just from a risk-reward perspective, this isn't the 90s anymore. I'm not downloading stuff on Napster in the middle of the night, so why not turn it off at night? And,
what were you downloading on Napster in the middle of the night?
No comment.
Yeah.
Different time.
Nirvana.
Yes. Oh, never mind. How about that album?
Every year the Niners come up short and they use the injury excuse and people give it to them. Like, even this year, hey, I mean, look what they did in spite of all the injuries. Okay, fine. There's truth to that. But if they do nothing about the injury issue, if they don't move the practice facility, if they don't get a new trainer and the injuries persist, I don't think people are going to give them that excuse anymore. It's like, well, you didn't really address this in any way. You kind of just hoped that things would change, and you're treating it like it's bad luck when we have 10 years of evidence pretty much showing that it's not bad luck. That it's a statistical anomaly, and you got to figure out why, and you're not even trying.
Grant, I'm a big believer in karma, and don't twist my words. I'm not saying the 49ers deserve injuries or anything like that, or I'm rooting for injuries by any means. This is a team that I grew up rooting for. However, I do want to say this. If the 49ers, Jed York in particular, doesn't take this substation issue seriously, maybe they don't deserve that success because it's such low-hanging fruit to take this issue seriously. It doesn't cost money to move to another practice field across the street. It's such an easy thing to address. Now, moving the substation, that's not easy, okay? But addressing this issue can be easy in some ways. The water that the molecular biologist you had on your show mentioned, that's something they could do. They have, EMF blocking paint that you can put in a facility.
If you have money to buy multiple soccer teams, you have money to fix this.
Thank
This
you.
is
This is a
job. The
priority
Niners
issue.
are you don't get to have a soccer team when you have problems with the football team. You got to make sure the football team is good. It's called 49ers Enterprises, not York Enterprises. This
Yep.
has to be solid, and it's not. And the whole league knows. And if this persists, the NFLPA will get involved. I mean, by
And
the end of the season, it was a player a week. It was a punchline, and to the point where the Niners go to freaking Warrior games and the Warriors get injured. I mean, I'm just saying, like, people are hyper aware. They're not
yeah,
gonna. This
yeah,
isn't going away. They're hyper
yeah.
aware.
And you
Yeah,
think that the agents aren't hyper aware, Grant? We just talked about the whole Joey Bosa contract a little while ago. Oh, it looks like he was offered 12 million from another team. Niners are offering 9. So the Niners say, "All right, we'll offer you 12." You think that that agent isn't saying, he'd like to accept this offer for 12, but we're just a little concerned about the substation, so you're going to need to give us 14 in order to make
it's
this
not
happen.
just a substation, right? It's California taxes. Okay, so
Bingo.
he has multiple offers. He likes the culture you got. He likes you guys have been winning. It's just that he'd make less money in California. He'd have to live in Santa Clara, which isn't LA or San Francisco. And there's this weird thing about you guys being the most injured team in the league every year, and a substation could be contributing to it, and he's uncomfortable because he doesn't want
That's
to be injured.
leverage. That's negotiation leverage 101.
Yeah.
Whether that agent believes in the substation theory or not, he can claim that his player does in order to get leverage and then get a better deal from the Niners and squeeze them for more money. And good point about the taxes. They've already got that working against them in negotiations because that's another leverage point that can be used against them.
It's going to be interesting to see how the Niners dance around this issue. Hey, we're not practicing there, but it's not because we're concerned, but we're not practicing there. I can't wait for that. I love when billionaires try to lie to your face. Okay, final thing. Job 5. Replace Mac Jones? ? Do you think the Niners are going to trade him? And if so, does that mean that they have more confidence in Brock than ever? Or is it just that they want a second-round pick and they would be replacing Mac Jones with like another starting caliber backup?
So I would love to see them keep Mac Jones. I think they're going to trade him, and this is just my intuition talking, because of all those reports that came out earlier about how the 49ers don't want to trade Mac Jones. That tells me that's a smokescreen. They're trying to build up leverage in those negotiations, and I think he probably will be traded, whether it's during the draft or not. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe Kyle and John have already fallen in love with a college quarterback that they want to draft in the 5th round that they see as being someone that can, be an understudy to Brock. I don't know the reasons for
they
it.
took
Maybe
Rourke last year.
They took who?
Curtis Rourke last year.
Who, yeah.
Not a big deal, but he did play at Indiana. So we'll see.
Maybe they've got someone like that in mind for the number 2 spot. Maybe it's Rourke himself. So we'll see. If you're not fixing the offensive line, you better have a good backup quarterback. If you're going to put your premier quarterback behind a shoddy offensive line or an offensive line that lacks depth, then I want to see a quarterback like Mac Jones as the number 2 option for sure. But I think this was kind of the plan all along, was to build his stock up a little bit and trade him for resources. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case either. They signed him to a 2-year contract, not a 1-year contract. And maybe they envisioned him in red and gold for 2 years. Maybe they envisioned that if there was a worst case scenario and Brock went down, they could make Mac Jones look good for a few weeks and end up getting a nice little draft pick for him.
You could argue that signing Mac Jones was the best decision the Niners made last offseason. Bringing in Robert Saleh was another one, but that was a freaking no-brainer. Mac Jones saved their season. Without him, if they had Brandon Allen or Josh Dobbs, they missed the playoffs again. So I think the reason that they feel they need a starting caliber backup is while they like Brock Purdy enough to give him all that money, they clearly like Brock Purdy. They also know that I'm not going to say probably, but he might not play the whole season. And he's an injury risk. Like, you look at Jaden Daniels in Washington, and you're like, man, hell of a player, but look at his body, man. He's a twig. He's going to keep getting hurt. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think there's some of that with Brock too. Like, he's a hell of a player, but he's kind of small, and he holds the ball a long time, and he runs around a lot. So, I mean, it's hard to expect him to play 17 games. He's only played a full season once in 4 years. So until he shows that he can be that consistent Iron Man, like like Caleb Williams, who's never missed a game,
Yeah.
then you need a Kirk Cousins behind him, or a Sam Darnold or a Mac Jones.
Yeah.
You do.
And I think I agree with you. And I think because they have so many holes, which we talked about this whole show on offense alone, offensive line and the weapons, and then a few holes on defense as well. I think that creates the temptation to trade Mac Jones because you can trade him for, say, a third round pick, and you can use that third round pick theoretically on one of these holes, and then you feel like your team's better off. But he's not expensive. You're not saving a lot of money. As we said, Brock can get hurt, has gotten hurt. There's a comfort there to having a backup quarterback. He saved your season last year. I think they're going to trade him. I would be quite content if they didn't and he stuck around.
Yeah. I keep going back and forth on this. If they feel they can get Kirk Cousins, maybe they feel like they could trade Mac Jones, even though Kirk Cousins is 10 years older, because Kirk's is a good player. Kyle trusts him. I think they've been wanting to work together for a long time.
Yep.
So that's the one fallback. But maybe Kirk feels like, Kyle, I love you, man, but I'm not done being a starter, and I could go start somewhere else. I could go start for Arizona.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. In fact, this may be the plan all along. This may be I think it is Kirk Cousins, Grant. I think Kirk Cousins is the guy, and that might be the impetus to trade Mac Jones. That theory resonates. That makes a lot of sense. That could be.
Say it again. You cut out for a second.
I said that theory resonates, that this could be the thought process all along, that they've already identified Kirk Cousins to be that guy. And that's why we're hearing this chatter about Mac Jones being traded, which supposedly they don't want to do. But maybe he's already the guy they've identified. I could see that being the case.
I would just like the Niners to slow down and say, look, man, we already got rid of one Brock Purdy backup who won a Super Bowl and might be better than Brock. I mean, look, Brock's good, but Sam just won 30 games in 2 years, a Super Bowl, and threw 66 touchdowns. Like, that's pretty good. Like, you let that go. That wasn't, you didn't want that. Like, maybe just slow down before you trade away Mac Jones. He looked really good.
Yeah.
Really good. He played really well against the Rams twice. You could argue that Mac Jones played better against the Rams this year than Darnold did. So I would want to keep him.
They had no hope to win that Thursday night game, and he willed them to that win there. Looking at that 49ers rise, the rise of the 49ers documentary, you get that Joe Montana, Steve Young element in there. I'm not saying by any means that Brock Purdy and Mac Jones are Joe Montana and Steve Young. Don't get me wrong, but it does remind me of the philosophy of Bill Walsh and the importance and the emphasis on a backup quarterback and how damn important that is. And
he had the best quarterback of all time, and he was like, "This is just not enough.
Not good enough." Yeah.
It's not enough.
Yep.
What do I do when Joe's not out there? Yep. And is Joe holding us back? Like, sure, he's the greatest ever, but like, what if we had someone who was a little bit more mobile?
And did Steve Young make Joe Montana better? I don't think Joe Montana was the kind of guy that would have rested on his laurels, but maybe him looking over his shoulder. Same thing with, Jimmy Garoppolo in New England. Tom Brady had to kind of look over his shoulder a little bit and know that there was a young star that the organization valued and invested in. So you can't rest on your laurels. So there's something to that too as well. Every time Mac Jones has a good game when Brock Purdy's out, and people on Twitter are like, seriously or half jokingly, quarterback controversy, that does something. That whole iron sharpens iron.
Then we saw Brock Purdy go for 5 touchdowns in a game back-to-back weeks. It seemed like he was really trying to respond to the
quality control, Grant. Quality control, buddy.
If you get rid of Mac and bring in Kirk Cousins, at least Cousins is a vet who can hold him accountable, but like, he's not taking your job.
Yeah, he won't be a
38 years old.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's why I want to keep Mac Jones, man. Like, because here, it's 2 things with Brock. It's the injuries, which might just be a function of his frame, and 2, it's interceptions. No one talks about it, and I don't know why, because if other quarterbacks did this, you'd hear about it nonstop. But 21 picks in his last 20 starts. He's the only good quarterback doing anything like that, and he is good. But like, that's Jameis Winston shit. Like, if he keeps that up, and he has a stretch where he has a couple 2-3 games in a row where he has multiple picks and they're losing, and Mac's here.
How many of those interceptions were thrown against Mike McDonald defenses? You had that tweet where you had Brock Purdy's numbers his last 2 games against Seattle, and then I was like, hey, don't forget about the game when Mike McDonald was the defensive coordinator for the Ravens on Christmas, and I believe Purdy had 4
4 picks.
interceptions. So
4 picks.
combine those stats together. I haven't done the math yet, but let's see the
Yeah.
numbers for the last 3 times Brock Purdy has gone up against Mike
Yeah,
McDonald.
that's true, right? Like, ultimately, the Niners moved on from Jim Harbaugh and Colin Kaepernick because it felt like the Seahawks in particular figured them out. And the Niners were like, well, okay, what's the point in being the second best team in the division? They own us. Every time we face Seattle, it gets worse. So we have to go in a different direction. And it took them a while to find the right direction. But are they not back in that same spot? It seems like the Seahawks own Brock.
I think you're giving the organization too much credit by saying that they recognized that Seattle had him. Yeah. That was all ego. That was all turmoil with Harbaugh and the GM. Why is his name escaping me right now?
Balky, because who cares?
Balky, there we go. Yep.
Yeah.
That was that, and Balky won the ego war with Harbaugh and convinced ownership.
War.
I think that's what that was. I would love to give them that credit and say that they recognized that Seattle kind of beat them and they had to change, but I don't think that was the case. I think, and it's funny, I go back to that documentary, the Rise of the 49ers, and I see how early on DeBardlow made some mistakes with the head coaching hires, and then he was able to, this guy from Stanford, he was able to just turn things around with the right head coach. And then this 49er leadership, all those years later, they get a guy from Stanford who is not Bill Walsh. I'm not saying Harbaugh is Bill Walsh, but he was a damn good coach and took you to the Super Bowl, and you just let him walk. You just let him out, even though you had this history of your team and you know how important a good head coach is. You just let him walk out. What a bad decision.
I want to give York some grace here because I covered this. One of the reasons they fired Harbaugh beyond the ego stuff was that Harbaugh refused to fire Greg Roman. And Greg Roman,
I didn't know that.
He refused. And he sucked then and he sucks now. And it's interesting, he finally fired Greg Roman and now he has Mike McDaniel, and that just might work. But he was very stubborn back then too. And I think I even at the time felt like I wouldn't be opposed to moving on from Harbaugh if they made Fangio the next head coach. But they had in their head that like Fangio's old and players don't like him, and Tomsula's a player's coach. Was like, man, that's the dumbest shit I've ever fucking heard. But I don't know. Maybe Fangio wouldn't have worked out either. I'm not sure he's a head coach. He's a great coordinator.
Yeah. How do you go from Harbaugh to Tomsula?
Hard. It's the dumbest shit that's ever happened.
Literally one of the better head coaches in the NFL to one of the worst head coaches ever in the NFL. And by the way,
you had them both in the organization.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, and you knew these guys. Yeah. By the way, I feel bad. Tomsula was a great positional coach, and it's a shame that he's become a punchline when we talk about like head coaches. And I think that sucks for him, and I think that sucks for his family, and I think that stinks. That's true. Put in that position. What was he supposed to do? Turn the head coach job down? You know what I mean? Like he wasn't equipped and prepared for that. But I don't even fault him for that. I fault ownership for putting him in that position.
I think Harbaugh does, whether rightfully or wrong. I think Harbaugh feels like it was a mutiny. I think Harbaugh feels like Tomsula was going up to management being like, I could do better. Like, why are you putting up? But maybe he didn't. Maybe Harbaugh's wrong. I don't know. But I think that's why he's in NFL Europe now, despite being one of the best D-line coaches in the league, because it's a very tight-knit fraternity. And
good point.
You can't lead mutinies. And I'm not saying he did, but if he did, that might explain things.
Yeah, that's a very. Is that all just kind of like rumor speculation? Is there any evidence
it's rumor
that's come
speculation.
Out?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure because when Tomsula got fired, Jim Harbaugh tweeted immediately, "You reap what you sow," and so I was like, I think he felt that,
like ending up in NFL Europe, like,
you reap what you sow, man. Like, because Harbaugh didn't hire Jim Tomsula. Tomsula preceded Harbaugh with the Niners, and Harbaugh kept him on the staff. Didn't have to. Obviously, he did because he earned it. But it's like I could have fired you. I could have sent you and your family packing, but I didn't. And I was loyal to you, and you weren't loyal to me. I mean, there's that kind of stuff in the NFL.
Yeah, that would make sense. Anyway. That would absolutely. Make
Stephen
sense.
Draper says Malachi Fields, MF announcers. That's a bad MF. Malachi Fields.
Nice.
Okay, Stephen Draper. BNA established 1988 says Ant Smith, wide receiver from ECU, is my draft darling. 6'3", 190, solid at the Senior Bowl, good late round value. Plus, his aunt is a friend of mine. Well, that's the most important thing right there.
Nice.
Ant's aunt is a friend of BNA. That's what's up. BNA says Kyle has to avenge me Darnold saving receipts, talking all that shit. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I retweeted it. Check it out. Let's do some prize picks before I fly to Indianapolis. We got NBA prize picks today, Warriors prize picks. Man, they're so freaking boring. I remember when they were good. Now they're facing the Nuggets, who actually are good. So let's talk about a superstar, Nikola Jokic.
There we go.
52.5 points, rebounds, and assists combined. That's a lot. What do you think? More or fewer?
I'll go over on that, or more, excuse me.
More. Okay. All right. How about the Warriors' best player, Guy Santos, or I don't know how you pronounce his name. 13.5 points, more or fewer. He had 17, a whopping 17 against Boston.
I'm seeing a lot of green on that screen, so I'm going to say more.
It's a smart man right there. Okay. Jamal Murray, 11.5 rebounds and assists.
He's going to keep it going. He's got 5. This is going to be 6 in a row coming up. More.
All right. Okay. There's no one on the Warriors. They just don't have – this team sucks. Brandon Podziemski, he might be the worst player ever. 14.5 points. Oh, more or less.
I'm going to go under on that one. Or less, excuse me. Less.
Okay. All right, that's exciting. DeAnthony Melton, he's a player in the league. 15 points, more or less.
We'll go less.
Boy, I don't want to watch the Warriors play basketball. Pat Spencer, 11.5 points, more or less.
We'll go less for Pat.
There you go.
You're just letting me choose all these, huh, Grant? That's a lot of trust there, man.
These are your picks. These are your picks.
Okay.
Your life.
Okay.
These are Tony's. We're going to flex them. Put down 20 to win 500. Submit the lineup. Download Prize Picks. Play $5. Get 50 instantly in lineups when you use promo code COHN. And, feel free to just copying Tony's picks because Tony's actually good at making picks. You're in a survivor pool every year, which is a fun exercise that I'm not good at.
Yeah, I built a whole podcast around the largest survivor pool contest in the world. It's an NFL survivor pool, and last year the prize pool was $18.7 million, and I lost on Thanksgiving. It's a $1,000 entry, and it's become a big part of my life is just focusing on this contest because it's the best sweat in the world. I love it.
I love that. Well, if you want to follow Tony, check out Tony's Market Tips on X. And thanks for watching. I'll be back next time you see me. I'll be in Indy.